Hi, my name's Rachel Andrews. Welcome to Everyday Athlete. On this week's video, I'm out and about and I'm in South Dartmoor at the moment. I'm going to hop in for a little dip, but the focus of this video will be how to warm up your cold feet after swimming. Well, what a lovely little ramble I'm having. A couple of near trip overs, almost landed on my backside. Ooh, there we go again. As the ground is a little bit slidey, lots of leaves, and underneath it just mossy rocks and mud. I'm going to put my camera away, this is getting dangerous. I always find that keeping my feet warm is an absolute key to having a nice swim. And although I can sometimes go in barefoot, I tend to always have something on them to prevent myself from hurting my feet when I get in, like catching them on something that's in the water or on uneven ground. And then when getting out and my feet are actually cold, not being able to feel things on the beach and either stumbling or again hurting the soles of my feet. So the first thing I'm going to do to prevent them getting too cold and damaged is I'm going to pop on a pair of neoprene booties. There's a couple of things I can do to help with the warm-up before I get into the water, and that is if I have a hot water bottle, I can stuff my socks inside the little inside the pouch, or just wrap my socks right next to it with my clothes around it. The other thing you could do is make some hand warmers or shoe warmers. So I've made these two things out of a couple of pairs of socks. I've got that odd sock drawer and I can't bear to throw them away if they're still viable. Filled them with about a palmful of, well, you can see about this much rice, and then stick them in the microwave for around about 30 seconds, and then you've got a really toasty hand warmer. But before you're going to put it in your hands, I like to put these into my shoes so that my shoes are pre-warming while I'm in the water. Right, the absolute key to me getting warm is to get my clothes on, get everything on except for my feet. I always do them last, and I leave my wetsuit boots on right until the moment I'm going to dry my feet up and put on shoes and socks. Bear with me. Well, let's take a look at some options for getting our feet warm as we get out. So obviously we need to get our booties off and then we need to dry our feet. But you can add in a little bit of luxury before that and possibly make taking the boots off a little easier by bringing along a flask, maybe not as big as this one, of lukewarm water. Just kind of hand warm that you bring from home. Don't bother to boil a kettle, definitely not, you could accidentally burn yourself. So run this over my feet first and then dry it off, starting my feet warming up. Pouring the water inside my boot should unstick it from my skin and make it easier to get off. Here's hoping. Now I'm taking care not to put my feet onto the cold ground, but keep them on top of the boots, which are now pretty toasty. Then I'm going to use the rest of the warm water just to warm the actual skin up. Just brought myself a kind of ropey old tea towel from home, because in general I don't use a towel to dry myself. But I am finding in the winter that I need to make sure my toes are getting dried, and it's easier to get my socks on that way. Next, here's my little friend who's been looking after my socks. I pop them in the back under the flap to make sure they're nice and toasty, ready to go on. Get those out now. Oh yes! Not before I remove that little rice pouch hand warmer, shoe warmer from inside my shoe. Out it comes. Use that in my pockets in a minute. Right, there we are. I've got my nice and toasty socks around my warm feet, inside my warm shoes. But those aren't the only tips I've got for you. I'm going to share a couple more. I'm not saying that you'd necessarily use all of these, but maybe there's a few alternatives that you might already have at home that you might like to try, just to make that thing of getting out the water and standing around having a bit of cake or a drink or something, just that little bit comfier. Okay, a few more little tips in no particular order. When you get out the water and you're getting changed, once your footwear comes off, make sure you've got something to stand on, whether that be a plastic bag with a towel on it, one of these dedicated changing mats or something, just to protect yourself from the floor. Another thing you can do if you are going to be standing around for a little while and you don't have too far to go to the car, I like to retire my slippers, the booty slippers, to my swim kit. So these leave my house and join my swim kit until I literally break them. I go for the ones that have got a fairly tough base so that I could walk in them. Today it's a bit slippery, so I wouldn't use these. And by the time I get to use them, they're a bit ragged on the inside, so the fluff has broken down a little bit, and they're not going to stick to my slightly damp skin too much. So these are a good idea, a pair of booty slippers with a sole on them. Another thing you can do if you are going to keep your booties on because you're hard of space for carrying your stuff, or you're just going to walk back to the car, is a good old pair of Crocs. Now, the type, I have seen the type which don't have holes on them, are covered up, and they've got kind of a warm insulative inner. I mean, those would be creme de la creme, but these will do because they're that thick. They're going to protect your feet from the cold of the floor, and you can just shove your wetsuit boots or socks inside them probably and get yourself back to the car to change into better footwear. Okay, just a little tip about hot water bottles. So this is obviously it's quite a small one, and so with it being smaller, that will cool down quite a bit quicker, but you can minimize the cooling down by wrapping your clothes around it. Or if you receive something in the post that's in bubble wrap, for example, I actually think these are Cornish pasties that came in this, then this insulated foam envelope thing is absolutely brilliant. So I warm up a hot water bottle, pop it inside the insulated bag, and then chuck small bits of clothes in with it. And you'd be surprised what a difference that makes when you're putting the things on warm. It feels a little bit like you're getting a cuddle. I just thought you might be interested in a little word about how I find the locations that I go for my swims, because it might seem on first impression, if you're new to my channel, that I just hop around and magic across lovely swim spots, but that's not really the truth of it. What I do is I do a bit of research. I'll take a look at where there might be a body of water, and then I'll also take a look in a couple of books. This one's got quite a lot of maps and things in it, so you can really start to get a feel for where there might be somewhere to swim. So I tend to look at this one if I'm going on a big drive somewhere and really get a good look in as to where there might be something. And then the other one, which is a new book that's just come out, is this one, The Art of Wild Swimming, which has got tips and things about swimming, as well as over 100 different locations. Interestingly, the one I'm at today is in both of them. So I used a little bit of information from each of them to get myself down to this little set of falls. And they all have different types of information. The art of wild swimming tends to be a little bit more wordy with a bit more description about where to find places, and the 300 hidden ones in the wild swimming book are just a little bit more scamped with the detail. They'll tell you how far it is from the nearest parking spot, and then a bit of a description with some shorthand for you to find a place. So do branch out and try to find different places to swim, but know that you're not totally on your own for finding those. There's lots of different things out there, whether you use the footpath map or something like that, or Google Earth and you have a little look in there, or just keep your eyes peeled. Now, I really feel like I must mention at this point, for anybody that watched my video last week where I was so peeved at having stained this changing robe, look! As if by magic, it's dried out. Amazingly, it's survived. It's hit with the glue stick going everywhere, and the stain's gone. Yippee! Really chuffed, but it still means I'm not going to use glow sticks, and I'm going to be really careful. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this week's video, and if you have, you'll give it a like and let me know in the comments how you keep your feet warm after swimming. And if you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking on my face and dinging the little bell, and you'll know when the next one's out. Tatty bye!